Good night of Shabbos, everyone. This week is Shabbos Ekev. It's also the day after coming from the Yom Tov of the 15th day of Av, which our Chachamim tell us was equal or even greater than the Yom Tov of Yom Kippur. And also this coming week is Chof Nachmav, is the yahrzeit of the Rebbe's father, and it's also, we know that from Chamisha Asar B'Av already starts the preparation for the new year. The Braditchever and the Munkacher used to wish already from Chamisha Asar B'Av Ksiva Chsim L'Teva L'Shana Teva M'Sukkah. So there's many lessons to learn from all of these things. First of all, what is the greatness of the Yom Tov of Chamisha Asar B'Av? Our sages tell us that the greatest Yomim Tovim were Chamisha Asar B'Av, the 15th of Av, and Yom Kippur. And they even mentioned the 15th of Av before Yom Kippur. There's a number of reasons of different things that happened to Chamisha Asar B'Av that made it to be a Yom Tov, but there's obviously has to be something much greater to it than just the reasons that are given, if we're going to say that it's greater than all Yomim Tovim, including Yom Kippur. So the explanation Chassidus gives is that the Yom Tov of Chamisha Asar B'Av is the Aliyah that comes after the Yerida, after the terrible descent on Tisha B'Av. On Chamisha Asar B'Av we experience an Aliyah. The moon is full, which represents the Jewish people returning to their full strength and vigor. So this, when it comes after Tisha B'Av, when it comes after the lowest point in Jewish history, this is the greatest heights. The Aliyah, the elevation that comes after the Yerida, after the descent, reaches the highest point. Now the question is, okay, that's a standard, idea which we heard many times, but let's understand this a little bit better. Chamisha Asar B'Av comes after Yom Kippur. Is the Mishnah mentions together with Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is also the idea of tshuva. So the day of Yom Kippur is a day of tshuva, and it's set up for every single year we do tshuva. And we know tshuva is so great that it's also the idea of aliyah, the elevation that comes as a result of the descent. Because of our sins, when we do tshuva, we reach even higher than we were before our sins. So why is Chamisha Asar B'Av greater than Yom Kippur? Maybe it should be equal, the same idea. Why is it even greater? So the Rebbe says a very fascinating concept. The fact that Yom Kippur was already set up for future generations, for all generations to be a day of forgiveness, means that we're dealing here with such a type of descent, such a type of sin, such a type of corrupted situation, which was, so to say, already part of the plan of creation, or at least the plan of creation took that into consideration. So it's not something that was already like part of the plan can't be considered the true Yerida, true descent in the full sense of the word. Tisha B'Av, the destruction that took place on Tisha B'Av, is so to say, particularly the things that happened as a result, and the intensity of the exile, and the intensity of the Jewish people's sins that led to such an exile, was something which, so to say, wasn't even part of the plan of creation, or the plan of creation that took into account deviations from the plan. Rather, it's something which is completely out of the box. And therefore, Yom Kippur, since it's dealing with sins that were, so to say, part of the plan, so the aliyah, the elevation that comes as a result, is also something which, so to say, is limited by the plan. It's limited by how much the Eibusher already decided the aliyah, the ascent should be. But when we're talking about the Yerida, something which was a descent, such a type of crazy physical and spiritual situation, which was totally beyond our understanding, totally beyond what was meant to be, so then the aliyah, the elevation that comes as a result, must also be something completely beyond understanding, completely beyond limitation whatsoever. So the Yom Tov of Chamisha Asar B'Av is even greater than Yom Kippur, because Yom Kippur, so to say, is a pre-planned descent and a pre-planned ascent. But Chamisha Asar B'Av is something which represents a situation which was, so to say, not even planned, and therefore the elevation is also not planned. It's beyond the plan. What does this all have to do with us? So Parshas Ekev speaks about Ikvasa the Mashiach, right? We know that Ekev, which is the name of the parsha, means a heel. And a heel represents the lowest level of the person's body. It's the most insensitive part of a person's body. And it represents the lowest generation. Now there's certain things that, we could rationalize. It's the type of concealments and the type of challenges that our generation faces physically, spiritually. We could maybe rationalize it based on our understanding that certain descents are needed for the sake of an ascent. And then there's the intensity of the exile, the intensity of the challenges, particularly over the last generations in our times, both physical and spiritual, complete moral decay, complete things that are beyond any rationale that we could understand why it has to be this way and what's the purpose of it and how we ended up here, must mean that the elevation, the aliyah of the days of Mashiach that comes as a result of our avodah, specifically in these crazy times, is so great that it's completely beyond any understanding, completely beyond any rationale. So it's Ekev, it's the heel. The word Ekev, the heel, the word Ekev, which represents the heel, really means a few things. The heels are the bottom of the foot, but on the other hand, the bottom of the foot holds up the whole body. We might be the lowest generation, but all generations depend on us. Also, Ekev means the lowest level, but together with that, Ekev also means Ikvus of the Mashiach, the heels of Mashiach, the footsteps of Mashiach. So we're living in times when we have two opposites coming together. From one hand, it's the lowest of the lowest times, and there's physically, the whole world is now in a pandemic. Spiritually, we don't need elaboration, and particularly over the past few years, how, the values and things that normal human beings held to be true or real are completely, being fought against and they're disappearing. So it's the lowest of the low, and sometimes we don't understand what's the point of all of this, and we can't understand it. But it's specifically through our avodah and this Ekev and these situations, and every small thing we do, Ekev also means the bottom, the end. There's a lot of things, a lot of people give importance to big things. Small things they always leave at the end. Ekev could also mean to throw it all the way to the end, or mitzvahs that a person tramples on with their foot. Things that people think are insignificant. It's specifically the small things that we do at this time, and this type of generation, that will lead to the ultimate elevation and will bring the footsteps of Mashiach and will have the highest levels revealed. So that level of Ekev means the end, the bottom. We shouldn't give up, even though we think we reached the bottom of things are completely down at the bottom, because it's dafka from the bottom that we reach all the way to the top. And specifically when we can't even understand that we're getting anywhere, if there's any rationale for what's going on, but we're able to reach the highest heights dafka through our avoid in this type of situation. It's also connected with Chaf Menachemov, the Rebbe's Yahrzeit of the Rebbe's father, which we know the Rebbe's father was a tremendous leader of the Jewish people in his city and throughout Russia. And he passed away under terrible circumstances. He was exiled, he was in prison and then exiled and sent. The books that describe the suffering he went through. And he ended up passing away in exile. So again, this is something which was complete self-sacrifice, and was the type of extreme and lowest situations which we can't understand what was the purpose of it. But it's dafka da avodah in such circumstances that lead to the greatest revelation. So also speaking about the idea of that we're coming to the end of the year, so there's many things that people leave until the end. Like I mentioned before, Ekev also means that we shouldn't throw things until the end, or think that certain details are not so important and we'll leave them until the end. But anyway, we're now at the end of the year. Also, Ikvus of the Mashiach, or at the end, there's no time to push off things for later. If you have a good idea to do, a mitzvah that you made a resolution to do in Rosh Hashanah, now is the time to try to do it as best as you can. You don't have to look for great, even the small details, the things that people usually step upon with their feet are the most important. And we should all merit to hear the footsteps of Mashiach. We're already hearing them, but we should see them. We should see the coming of Mashiach, and we should have the greatest Yom Tov of all, seeing the tremendous elevation beyond rationale, beyond our imagination being revealed right now. Take it from Yad Mamish. Have a good Shabbat.